Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is a meeting of July 17th, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll for us?
Chair Duncan?
Here.
Vice Chair Nunley?
Here.
Commissioner Manfor?
Here.
Commissioner Griffin's absent. Commissioner Jefferson?
Here.
Commissioner Ramos?
Here.
Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Starks? Absent. And Commissioner Wu?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda today?
There is not.
So then we will move on to the public comment section of the agenda. Madam Clerk, will you read the public comment script?
Persons wishing to address the Commission on subjects that are on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the Commission may do so at this time. The Commission cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting. To speak on an agenda item, please fill out a speaker card and give it to the clerk. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item.
And do we have any speakers?
I have no speaker cards.
Okay. We will then move on to the consent items on the agenda. Would you please read the consent item wording?
All matters listed on consent are to be approved by one motion unless a commissioner or the public requests that separate action is taken on a specific item.
All right. So can I get a motion to approve the consent items?
Second.
All right. So moved by Commissioner Wu.
Yeah.
Seconded.
He's fast. He's fast.
Seconded by Commissioner Manfor. Are there any, if there are no objections, we will pass the motion to approve the consent items. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. So we will then move on to our presentations. Madam Clerk, will you read the item of item number 2?
Marina Vista and Alder Grove Public Housing Wi-Fi Project.
Okay. And we have a presentation from staff.
All my stuff. Sit up here. All right. You guys hear me okay? Yeah. All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Mark Hamilton, and I am a director in our Public Housing Department. I'm here to provide an update on the community Wi-Fi project at the Marina Vista and Alder Grove communities. Just to start off, this project could not have been done without the support of the City of Sacramento. The efforts of our SHRA property management and maintenance teams, Leotana Floyd Elementary, and our contractor Federated Wireless. Also wanted to recognize Julius Austin, who's been essential on this project on the SHRA side, and Mr. Prasad Rapali. He's a retired Intel professional who approached SHRA originally on this project, and he's helped to kind of lead and provide additional tech kind of as we needed kind of throughout. So the main goal of this project was really to provide free access to high-speed internet to the communities and partners of the Marina Vista and Alder Grove communities, including the school district. SHRA in partnership with the City of Sacramento were able to utilize local funds in the amount of $1.4 million to support this project. So the question kind of on the table is what kind of led us to kind of agree to this broadband project, and kind of what was the motivation? And to answer that, there are 2 very important terms to be aware of. The first is the concept of the digital divide, and the second is the concept of digital inclusion. The digital divide is defined as the gap between individuals, households, businesses, and geographic areas at different socioeconomic levels with regard to both their opportunities to access information and communication technologies and their use of the internet for a wide variety of activities. This gap very much exists at these 2 communities, as the overwhelming majority of families make substantially less than the average median income for this area. Digital inclusion is defined as the activities necessary to ensure that all individuals and communities, including the most disadvantaged, have access to and use of information and communication technologies. This project is one of those activities necessary to help bridge that digital divide between 2 of our largest housing communities. The most prominent display of this divide was seen throughout the COVID-19 global pandemic when this project was originally conceived. It was discovered that through our pilot process that 25% of the children on the property who were utilizing remote learning were being dropped out of their classes due to a lack of internet connectivity or low bandwidth. Our partners at the school were doing everything that they could to support their students, including issuing additional hotspots. However, the need for service rapidly exceeded the capacity of those hotspots, resulting in children continuing to be dropped out of the classes. We really introduced this pilot project at Marina Vista in 2021, and we utilized a group of 25 students to evaluate the potential use of the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC's, release of Band 48 Citizens Broadband Radio Service, or CBRS, as the potential method of delivering large area Wi-Fi to the community. The results of this pilot were very promising. As detailed in the staff report, 90% of the users found that the solution that we provided was as simple to use as normal Wi-Fi. 93% would recommend the use to their friends and neighbors. There were two results that we really wanted to improve upon, where 85% said the connection made daily work easier, and 87% said the connection was better than their home Wi-Fi. So there was a percentage of the test group in which the free service that we were providing was lesser than their existing service. So when we were looking at the scale implementation of the project, kind of bringing it to both properties, we were connected with Federated Wireless, an expert in the space, and we tasked them with the following requirements for this project. We have to maintain or exceed the sense of satisfaction for the use of the system. We had to make the system easier to use and more comparable to standard Wi-Fi without any additional equipment needs by the end user. We had to improve the speed and reliability of the service, and any hardware or technology should not impact the residents' utility buildings or their living space. And they needed to be able to provide all of these services, including maintaining the system for a period of no less than 5 years. I'm happy to say that we are very close to implementing this project in full. As of June 2024, the vast majority of the technology needed for the project has been installed. And throughout the month of July, we've been working with the Federated team to conduct connectivity tests throughout the properties to ensure that there's a strong and stable connection. We expect for these tests to be concluded before the end of this month. In August 2024, we'll be working with different groups in our communities, from staff to residents, to gather feedback and any potential improvements to the systems that may be needed prior to the hard launch. Barring any critical issues, we should be looking to launch a project shortly thereafter. At this time, I'd like Julius to read a letter from Sam Floyd, who is the principal of Leotada Floyd, who cannot be with us tonight. And after which we'll have a short video that we would like to share with you, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you so much. So as Mark mentioned, Sam Floyd is the principal at Leotada Floyd Elementary School, but he's also a resident of Marina Vista Public Housing Site as well. And he wrote, "To whom it may concern, during the pandemic, we saw an increased need for internet access among our students at Leotada Floyd Elementary School. Through our community partners, SHRA, Valley Vision, Future Tech, and others, we provided internet access to families in need. According to Pew Research Center, 43% of lower income families do not have access to internet. The statistic generally mirrored our school population. Our community partners saw this inequity and piloted a program to bring broadband access to our community. Through this pilot, the students could access the internet to learn during the pandemic. Of course, there were some hiccups, which Mark alluded to. Yet the pilot showed the potential of bringing broadband services to both Marina Vista and Alder Grove. Access to the internet is an important factor when we look at social mobility. Bringing broadband services to the community will only help families by providing resources to negate inequalities that poverty produces. With gratitude, Sam Floyd." Thank you.
And we do have a short video for you guys to watch.
The world is changing now. Access to information really does draw the line between the haves and the have-nots.
I grew up across the street. I felt like I had a fantastic time as a kid. I felt honored to serve my community, but I feel like I need to do more.
This school and this community, there's something special about it. We've been talking internet, technology, laptops for kids for a good 10 years. It started with just trying to get our kids some one-to-one devices. And then we ran into the issue of internet at home, and we were tasked with sending 350 laptops home with kids. The access piece became the challenge, and then COVID.
I think the pandemic really highlighted the inequity that was already there, and broadband was a big part of that. You know, when classes moved online, when work moved online, when everything said, oh, it's okay, just look it up if you need to enroll in food stamps, and didn't fully connect the fact that there's whole sections of our community that, either because of lack of infrastructure or cost, didn't have access to that resource.
The community is served by cable, and they haven't stepped up to the plate. So when Prasad came and asked about 5G, we thought, oh, cool, we can start to use a new technology here.
Back in January of 2020, essentially enabled 150 megahertz of free spectrum. You can easily blanket 1 square mile with an outdoor cellular radio.
The project that they're working on right now is installing the radio so that we can provide high-speed internet to Marina Vista.
The teachers have become really comfortable, and the kids have really learned some skills that are going to help them transition to the new technology that we're all using.
The minute schools closed, Food Literacy Center thought, well, our solution is that we could now possibly offer virtual class. We've gotten them addicted to vegetables, and they still want to keep eating healthy at home. They're kindergartners. They might have lost the recipe. Well, if they have internet, they can get online and they can find that same recipe that they cooked in their food literacy class, and they can make it with their families.
You know, the ultimate goal is to give the students the skills, but to help increase their learning outcomes. And I think those things have happened over time.
Today, when we actually saw the system working very well, when we had all 6 or 8 kids doing what they typically do, and they were saying, oh, this is working very nice, it was very gratifying. Whatever you worked on is actually has shown results.
We are seeing very good results. We are getting good feedback. And in some cases, we are seeing a speed of 100 megabits per second, which is phenomenal.
I am grateful for everybody that has made it possible for our kids being able to get 5G without any hassle. And hopefully this is just the start. This is like a pilot, not just for our community. Hopefully it takes off to other communities that also need it.
People who care about this issue are all over, and you want them to have a role in developing the technology that's going to serve the future.
This neighborhood has been ready for this type of attention and investment for a while. I'm excited about what this means, not just for this neighborhood, but for other neighborhoods in Sacramento and around the state.
This is a technology pebble that's being dropped into a pond. And the ramifications of the ripple effects, I think, are going to be national.
We are committed to making digital equity a cornerstone of our inclusive economic development strategy, and we're backing it up with real dollars. We spent millions of dollars of our CARES Act funding to help our school kids during the pandemic. Those kids, our kids, deserve the same access to technology as kids from any other part of the city.
So we're really excited about this project, and that we're almost to that point where we can turn that on, switch on for these 700 families that we're looking to serve here with this high-speed internet. It's been a long journey, even to the point where Tyrone was still here when we originally started the project out. And it's really been a labor of love for us to kind of get this out the door and get this on and situated for our families. Unfortunately, we didn't make it as far as like in the heart of the pandemic, but we believe firmly that these services are still essential and critical. So happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Well, the first thing I want to just say is how amazing this project is, how, desperately needed it is. I mean, I think about the fact that the city has been working to just put Wi-Fi in parks, but the need here is so much greater for families to be able to, access the internet for all sorts of reasons, and children need it for their schoolwork, and we really don't appreciate how easy it is for many of us to have quick access to the internet. And so I'm just grateful that this project has moved forward, even if there were some delays, that it is coming together. Commissioner Ross?
Yes. Well done anyway. That's exciting. So does my heart well. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Will that video be able to be sent to the commissioners? So link, can we get that? Yeah, I wanted to, took a photo, I wanted to take a photo of the tower. I think that's important, and I wanted to get some clarification on how all this works. So, because I was a little bit confused when we were talking about Leo Tata Floyd and yet the housing complex. So the idea is there's no wire at all, it's just sending out a signal, kind of like a dome, and people that were within range can pick up that signal. Is that correct, or how does it work?
Yeah, the way that it was described to us is super Wi-Fi. So basically, without the need for all the wires, we just have a giant network that covers both properties. So at each property, we have a series of towers or radios that broadcast this internet signal. We've done heat map studies to make sure that we've got connectivity at every point within the property, but yeah, you just connect to it like you would normal Wi-Fi. So we don't have to run wires, we don't have to install anything.
Yes, okay, that's what I
people's
thought.
homes.
Right, because I was a little bit confused at first. I'm like, well, Leo Tata Floyd, well, how is that helping the school and the neighborhood, the residents, because it's covering that whole area. So that's exciting. The digital divide is huge. I'm not bothered by the fact that it came later than when it's needed, because it's never too late, because you got 43% of kids and families that are just absolutely, literally disconnected. So it's never too late. Now they're connected and they can, participate the same way as, suburban or higher income folks. So anyway, I think I'm going to be excited to see if this could be expanded. I'm actually also curious, is it the gentleman, Prasad, I can't remember his name. Prasad, yeah. We didn't know about this idea before, or he's a volunteer that just came, and then what's the strategy on how to make this happen at the other properties, or do the other properties that we have the Wi-Fi?
So as we kind of convert properties through our RAD and other programs, one of the requirements is to add some degree of wireless internet connectivity. It certainly is a model that we could look at other public housing properties. This idea was really introduced and brought to us by Prasad, who had really kind of been following the FCC and the release of these certain broadband channels, radio channels that allow for the transmission that's necessary for that Wi-Fi to be dispersed throughout the property. So him bringing it to our attention, and he really helped kind of secure funding as well for the pilot, so that we could test it out and see how it worked. One of the big issues that we've had in the past is that we've introduced innovative things, and we just haven't had the sustainability to kind of have it go for a prolonged period of time. So it was really important for this particular grant that it was going to cover a multi-year period of time. So if we're looking to do that, the same thing at other public housing properties, we would be looking for the same scope, where we would want that service to be in place for years rather than a year, or rather than a few months.
Mm-hmm. So my last comment is, I just think in the type of work that I do, I think this is paramount, probably besides having a place to live, it's like the highest priority, period. So I would like to see, SHRA put together a strategic plan to say, with the timeline of when and how this is gonna get to other properties. Because when and if that's done, I think, if we can get involved as commissioners and whatnot, I'm going to be, pushing this as hard as I can in other communities because it is paramount. Our kids are just falling behind and our adults are falling behind. So if that could be, sometimes I take my notes and I repeat things in here. So, every once in a while, every 6 months, or I'm gonna ask if that hasn't happened because it's that important. It really is, because that means those are jobs for kids. That's employment. That's going to college. So, well done. Please, if you can, make it a priority if you can. Thank you.
All right. Go down the line. Commissioner Wu.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you. As a former school board member, I really, Leah Tata Floyd really needed it, and I'm glad that you were able to make it happen. I'm just so thankful, and now the community has it, and I think that, as my fellow commissioner said, every one of our projects needs fast internet, and if we can get them, it would help them get jobs. It will help them do their work. And now the kids don't have an excuse that says, I couldn't do my homework. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos.
Yes, just want to share in the comments saying that this is great thing and really wonderful to have this partnership with this person who came forward. Just a couple just curious questions. So is it only limited to folks who have kids in the district? They only get the Wi-Fi code, or everyone sort of gets it? Is there any restrictions on it can only be used for educational things, or if I want my TV hooked up to the Wi-Fi just for my streaming service, I can do that? Is it just kind of open use for folks within the range?
Yeah, I mean, we really kind of designed this project to be a replacement for home internet service that's paid for by the resident. So there is no limitation on the access or the use of the internet. We do, as part of our portal to connect, we do have a splash page which we do provide resources for our families so that they can see kind of what's out there. I believe we're plan on having that refreshed every 30 days, so they may have to just reconnect to that splash page every 30 days or so. And they would still be able to see what resources are in their communities, as well as active links to different websites and resources that are available to them. It's not saying that that's a condition of use. We just want to make sure that those resources are available and easy to see. But yeah, it's open to everybody who lives at those properties, whether you're a family with children or not.
Okay. And then I see that the staff report says the city of Sacramento provided the funding for the project. Although I saw from the video, it seems like it's a partnership of many agencies, including the school district. Did the school district provide any funding, or was it primarily the city of Sacramento? It's just the districts are just partnering, but not
primarily it's been the city of Sacramento for the full implementation. That's not to take away from the involvement that the school district had in the pilot, where they really assisted us with kind of providing us space and access to students to try out the systems. But as far as monetary contributions, 99% of it's coming from the city.
And then it seems like this is out 4 or 5 years. So is there a sense of what happens at that stage? I imagine a lot of the cost was setting up the pole and the other infrastructure.
Yeah.
So is there a sense of what the ongoing costs will be in the out years after the pilot, and whether that's going to be borne again by the city or SHRA or the school district?
Yeah, the good news is most of the cost that's tied to the project is in relation to the upfront installation. I believe $900,000 of the 1.4 was just kind of setting up the infrastructure. So if you take and break up the remainder of that over the next 4 years, it's still somewhat pricey. but it's not at that $1 million mark. And I think we're confident that we can secure other sources of funds or look internally for funds to continue to fund and propagate the program.
Okay, helpful to know. And again, just think it's a great project and just, yeah, if there's opportunities for it in other areas, wonderful. Thank you.
Vice Chair Nunley.
Thank you so much. I turned off my mic. Thank you so much. This is a great program, as the other commissioners have mentioned. I do have a couple of, just because I'm internet challenged or technology challenged, I guess I should say, not internet challenged. You mentioned a splash page. So in order to connect, if you live in the area, whether it's phone, iPad, anything like that, do you automatically you have to look for the Wi-Fi and then it comes up with a certain name? And do you have to put in a passcode or something, or?
Yeah, so there will be a network name and password. It's going to operate somewhat like when you're in a hotel and you're accessing like hotel Wi-Fi. There's a splash page that you have to go through and you have to accept like terms of service, and then you're able to just connect to the internet once you kind of put in your login and your password. We are going to be working closely with the families. We're planning on having different focus groups just to make sure that there's an ease of access. And if there are barriers, that we can identify them early and eliminate those.
Okay, so then the other thing, if you're in the area or in the housing, can I, even though I don't live there, can I just walk in and sign on to the internet, or do I have to go through certain protocols, as you call it, the splash page?
Yeah, so I believe you still would have to go through the splash page. Okay. We're still kind of working it out as far as guest access and what that looks like. Certainly when we have vendors or other partners on the site, we can give them access to the services. But as far as like guest access, it's just something that we're still working out. Our priority is to get it in the hands of the families first.
Is it only in the hands of the families when they're in their unit, or can they be outside and phone, or like I said, their tablet or whatever, and they could just access? And they don't have to sign in every time, they just sign in the once.
Right, so the way that we have it set up right now is that we're looking at where they may have to sign up every 30 days and just go to that splash page at that interval. Any less than that, and it becomes somewhat burdensome and annoying to connect to the internet. But to answer your first question, you should be able to access the internet no matter where you are on the property, whether you're in the home, like out in the park. That's the way it's designed. The original model for this came from like a commercial application where they had internet between like warehouses. So the idea is that you can connect to the internet no matter where you are on the property, whether you're at home or outside.
Okay, or at the neighbor's house.
Or at the neighbor's house, yeah.
The kids
There's no geofence that tells you like, hey, you can't cross this line. If you do, your Netflix is gonna cut off.
So a group of kids could all get together and they could all be on it at one house, or in one room, or one at the park, wherever.
Yeah.
And they could all have access.
That's the plan.
Okay, and they all could have access, like you said, to anything, whether it's TV streaming service or whatever. And then when you talked about that digital divide, there are parents that may not have necessarily that technology literacy. I understand the school is going to try to bridge some of that. Is there anything else going on with bridging that gap for those that they barely get access to the internet? And then how do they search for things, whether it's job searches or information or anything like that?
That's a great question. It's a question that we posed to Federated Wireless when we originally kind of brought them in, is that it was going to be important to have a path to providing that digital literacy to our families. So part of the package that we're getting with them is a whole onboarding suite So like kind of really walking through, here are the kind of basic steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what you kind of need to identify. This is the device. And I think we're looking really to get a lot of good feedback during our focus groups as well. So we can say, okay, anything that we're not kind of covering in here that we really should, as we're kind of educating families on how to access this great new resource that we're bringing their way.
Okay. So you're trying a multi-prong, not just, okay, you guys got access, see you.
Yeah, and then we'll use all of our kind of marketing tools that we have available. So we have like our Net Presenter system that kind of shoots out information to our office bulletin boards.
Okay.
And then we'll make sure that at our front-facing meetings that we're also kind of talking about connection and connectivity.
Mark, would you like me to add a little bit to that?
Sure. Julius has been working hand in hand with the resident services team.
Yeah, so great question. And we recognize that full digital inclusion is not only having access to the Wi-Fi, but also having access to digital literacy, and also digital devices.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the Promise Zone, we have been a part of the Digital Inclusion Coalition that's in Sacramento that's led by Valley Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Valley Vision is also a partner on this project. And so our partners in Valley Vision, Prasad, and some other community partners have dedicated and committed to making sure that the community also has access to digital literacy, access to digital devices as well.
Okay. That's really good to hear, because that's so important. Thank you.
And just to add on to that too, in terms of getting that feedback from the residents, that'll help to shape how our resident services staff and team can connect our residents to the things that they really need access to. So all of that will help us continue to provide more resources.
Thank you.
Commissioner Manford.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was one other thing, because Mark mentioned Net Presenter, but I'm not sure if you guys know what Net Presenter is, because we live in our own world. Net Presenter is this program that we have, and there's monitors, like the 2 big monitors here at the actual locations, and we are able to push notifications out to residents. So it might be about, there's a diaper drive, make sure you have ability to show up, or, the food bank is dropping off, or pay your rent on time, things like that. And in addition to that, we also have a employee-facing portion of Net Presenter. So I don't know if you've noticed when you come in and Joe, down there's that big old TV screen. Well, those are things that we put in the loop. I know that Mary Liz and her team use it to really put up their stats in terms of where are we in terms of lease ups. And so everyone can really see, understand, know exactly where that work effort. And then there's other things that are just good to know, like whose birthday it is. The birthdays are always on there. Or, kids are graduation, we put photos of the graduates. So it's one of those communication devices that really has worked out very well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Manford.
My question is more so of a possibly technical question. Is there a plan that's been established to really address the possibility of breaking connectivity for those who are utilizing it due to possible inclement weather or unforeseen circumstances? Just want to make sure that there isn't a gap in between that, because sometimes we see that and then people are going to be complaining that we don't have access and utilize it as an excuse. But did the network provider establish some type of a plan to ensure that there isn't a break in connectivity?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. It's one of the things that we kind of led with too, and why we identified Federated to be in this space, is that they're going to be providing monitoring of and providing like the first and second level support in case we do have like network disconnections or anything like that. That's a lion's share of like the maintenance part of the contract. It's just taking care of the network if there are issues, and then whenever upgrades are necessary, they're able to perform those upgrades over whether they have to flash that in or they have to come out to the site to do that.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you guys for this program, because I do think that it's essential for every home to have internet. and how Commissioner Ross was saying, is there some way that we can get it to voucher holders as well as other public housing individuals, where we have some type of stipend for internet or something that towards their utility cost, so that everybody's getting the same type of service available to them?
I know it's been a consistent ask to HUD in regards to including high-speed internet or broadband access on utility allowances. There hasn't been like a whole lot of traction. HUD has required, as we kind of do rehabs and renovations, to include high-speed internet access as part of that plan. And I know that for any new development, it's a requirement. I don't know if I'm the expert to kind of speak to the housing choice voucher implementation.
I think you answered it.
But yeah, I think that the only pursuit would be, where can we kind of address that on a utility allowance basis? Because you're kind of dealing with private landlords, and they may not be so keen at, installing a 25-foot antenna on top of their building.
And Mark is right, we have had those discussions at the national level about this should be something that is a right that everyone has versus an amenity that you have to pay for, and the utility allowance would be a perfect vehicle for doing that. So we continue to push HUD in that direction, but still gonna take a while. And then just to manage expectations, I agree, if we could do this at all of our properties, we'd be absolutely thrilled. The reality is what the costs associated with it, and this was one-time funding that the city received, and I really want to give kudos to Councilmember Valenzuela, who fought really, really hard for these dollars to come back to that community. And so, the city got this infusion of one-time money and we're able to set it aside. And without it, we really could not have done the project. So to expand the project, we would have to figure out how it could be done very, very cheaply, which we haven't figured that out yet. But it is something that I think that we want to keep on the radars, and we would love to do that, but it will be a challenge without the funds. And it was hard to hold on to this $1.5 million. That's why we were really glad that we were finally able to get it done and spent.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you, Executive Director Dozier, on that. The funding is an issue, but I'm gonna still come back on a strategic plan, because I think, all of us are connected, all of us. I'll I think any of us will, personally try to take on that challenge to try to make it a priority, because, it's all over. There's no greater educational priority. So, let's lobby our supervisors and council persons and say, hey, there is a piece of information that you can, something called City Health Dashboard. It's by New York University. And so it uses social determinants of health approach, and we are utilizing it, the organization I work with a lot, to be able to look at closing gaps of access. So I would encourage you all to take a look at that. I wanted to ask a question, because then that way you could say, here's a high performing adjacency, let's say, or neighborhood that's doing 94%, here's one at 74%. So the goal would be, well, okay, how do we concentrate resources? Because it's identified now, to close that gap, maybe to move that to 85%. So that is a data strategy, and we could come and lobby our other electeds on that, and recommend from this body here that is a priority. I just don't see anything. Like I said, I'm super excited about it. I'll keep bringing it up. So I really would like that strategic plan to identify that. And we can say, here's the goals, here's the dates that we'd like to see happen. And we could ask our electeds to say, hey, are you going to help us make this happen? Just like Councilwoman Valenzuela did. The question that I have has to do with the digital literacy. So is the access just based online? Because I'm not sure if you were alluding to that, we could say, well, they can go online and find out how to do it. I'm interested in seeing if there is physical presence, or even if the contractor with Federated or other organizations to come and teach, because there is still even an awareness gap on how to use the mouse. So if we're saying, hey, you gotta go into this black hole of a device, if you don't know how to turn it on, then you're not even gonna be able to get that lesson. And the other part would be, because there's a lot of people that just don't know technology, or they have a fear of technology. The other one is those that don't, like for instance with Xfinity and some of the other providers, they do, I can't remember, I'm just gonna use the term, just calling it equity or something, but they have something where you can, those that are low income, that are receiving, SNAP assistance or any of that type of stuff, free lunch, reduced lunch, they get access to a computer, and they also provide some Wi-Fi. So for the facilities, my fellow commissioner that was saying, hey, the ones that are on voucher programs and so forth, I'm just curious to see, has SHRA reached out to develop a real partnership with those groups to get that technology out to individuals? Because that does help them get some access, even though if we don't have the funding to provide that right now.
Yeah, so trying to dissect your question there.
Well, one, you could start off with just the vouchers, and then the other one has to do with literacy. And are we asking people to say, hey, you just gotta go online to learn this? Or is part of the strategy physical people there to teach people how to get in access?
Yeah, so the first part of your question, I think Julie's kind of alluded to that, where we're really looking to kind of expand that digital literacy and kind of getting that out to the communities. The Promise Zone is really kind of focused on a certain designated geographic area, but I don't see a reason why, potentially that can't be expanded out further to do outreach with those families that are on the Housing Choice Voucher program. The second part of your question in regards to access and whether or not it's digital only. One of the first working groups that we're going to have working and utilizing this technology is going to be our staff teams, so that they can get familiarity with how this works. So that if residents do have a question, we can provide in person support on how to connect, how to utilize this resource, how to get online, and how to do all of those things. Also mentioned that we would be mentioning these at our resident meetings that are hosted in person at the sites. So at every opportunity where we can have boots on the ground showing people how to utilize these services, we will. We do recognize that there are a lot of people who aren't connected to the internet either by circumstance or choice. And we really want to work with those families to kind of get them connected, and we don't want the only path to that to be online only. Because you're telling somebody who may not have used a system to kind of get online that the only way that you can get online is to get online. And we understand that conundrum. So we really do want, wherever we can, to work with our residents in person and our partners.
Well, excellent, excellent. Outreach for this is the same as any other kind of inequity. So, if that's on your agenda, that's fantastic. If not, continue to press forward with that, because there really are people that don't even know how to start off with their smartphones. So, thank you so much.
Commissioner Manford?
I just one thing that I'm gonna say is a recommendation, not recommendation, but I know we were talking about the funding. I do know of grants that are providing those type of funds. If you take a look at grants.ca.gov, I saw some of them, they did have something for very similar to this, where we can actually utilize, and it's being sponsored by Department of Public Health and Department of Healthcare Services. So they do have some grants out there that we can possibly utilize.
Thank you. Jotted that down.
All right. Are there any public comments on this item?
There are not.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will then move on to item number 3. Madam Clerk, can you read the title of that item?
FY22 Public Housing Assessment System Scores Update.
All right. And that update will be provided by the chair of the PHAS Task Force, otherwise known as Vice Chair Nunley.
Well, what was it, this past July 11th, the task force met for the public housing assessment system. This was the first initial meeting that we had, so it was more a revisiting what is the assessment system, how does it work, what does it involve, and the people involved. Mr. Hamilton, of course, he was there, and he provided an overview of the housing department as well as the assessment system, which we really thank you for. We talked about some of the efforts that are underway with regards to improving the housing scores. But I also want to take a step back because part of the meeting also was saying, okay, in 2019, we had these scores and everything was going great. And then all of a sudden they said, yeah, you can roll them over for 20 and 21. And then 22 hit and they said, now we're gonna go back. And that's where we started having these problems in the first place. So moving forward, we are working and reviewing with staff, and we'll be looking at all of the items that they are doing moving forward. In addition to, the biggest one is the financial audit that is coming up this September. And of course, we're in July, the books close, everybody's scrambling to work, I've been there before, closing the books, and then you also are trying to get the auditors in to get the audit complete, and that's always a challenge. Some of the things that they did talk about as far as the scores are the rent collection rates. That was also a big deal because of COVID. And there was a grace period and a pause and some of those other things. So getting that back on track has been a big challenge. The occupancy is another one. And then also the physical inspections, which as I recall, they haven't quite finalized what those physical inspections are going to look like. It used to be that it was building-wide, now they're going specifically unit by unit. And that changed, they haven't quite listed all of the things that they're going to be looking for. So there's a number of challenges going forward that both SHRA will have to deal with, as well as they'll be reporting back to us. And the next meeting will be August 7th, and it will take place just before the regular commission meeting here. And I don't know if there's anything else that you could think of, Mr. Hamilton, to add to that, but I think that's pretty much what we covered.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on that. I think we have some deliverables that we'll present to the body at the next meeting, so that we can review, I think, amp by amp. Yeah, it was a great summary.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add to, the occupancy issue is obviously a challenge that we have. And you may have read the Sacramento Bee article, but it's all related, in terms of the work that we are tasked to do and to really, kind of dig ourselves out of a lot of things that happen as a result of COVID. So we really appreciate the members volunteering to be a part of the task force, bringing their expertise, and being able to continue to assist us as we move forward to meet those goals.
Are there any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Ross?
Thank you. Thank you for that. Could there be a little bit of clarification on what the occupancy issue is? And also who makes up the committee?
So HUD has a requirement as part of the FAS, or the Public Housing Assessment System, for a certain occupancy percentage. Ideally, you want to be over 96% in order to get the maximum number of points for that kind of scoring category. This falls
So you mean 90% of all units filled? Is that
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so over 96%. That's really that sweet spot that you want to be in It's 16 points when you hit that 96% mark. Currently, in the city, we're around 90%, and in the county housing authority, we're around 92%. So we're making tremendous progress. Our plan is to fully hit those percentages before the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we talk about who's on the committee, if there's a housing shortage, why, is there some indicator of why, lower income housing wouldn't be full? Why would, I mean, there's a housing shortage, there's a lot of homeless individuals. There's a lot of people that are on, I recall from the past, were on like a lot of waiting lists to be able to get into housing, right?
Right.
The vouchers even expired. That was one of the last presentations, we couldn't get them in. So why would it not even be close to full?
We have a responsibility to make sure that we're providing decent, safe, and sanitary housing.
Okay.
So the condition of the housing is not at the point where we can have occupancy in there. So that's why our efforts, we're partnering with different general contractors, as well as using different strategies with our maintenance teams in order to address those unit needs prior to occupying them. There certainly is not a lack of demand for the units, and we recognize that. But we have a responsibility as one of the largest landlords in Sacramento County to make sure that we're providing housing that is kind of meeting that decent, safe, and sanitary mark.
And is that ability not to get,
If I could just add, also too, as a result of COVID, we were not able to get into those units and do the inspections. And when we get in and we are able to do the inspections every year, that's when we catch things. It's like, oh, well, there's a leak there, or, oh, we need to make sure that we repair the flooring. Well, if you haven't been in a unit for 3 years, there's a lot of deferred maintenance. We were only going in if there was an emergency work order. And so all of those things accumulated. So now as we're getting units back, as people, move out for whatever reason, they're in bad shape in some cases, just to be very honest. And so that's what, Mark is talking about before, where our maintenance team may go in, be able to go and turn a unit, get it ready for occupancy. There are such a level of damage that it really goes to our real estate and construction side, where they have to get outside contractors who come in and may have to address the flooring situation. You may have to get another contract that's dealing with, water intrusion issues. And those things take a lot of time, and they are very, very costly. So it's a combination of all of these factors, and the staffing was another huge issue that we faced.
Okay.
We lost a lot of staff during COVID. People retired, they left, and we have a huge turnover, not just in this department, but really throughout the agency. To the tune, I've never seen it before in my career here at the agency, the level of turnover. So as you bring in new people, then you're starting from scratch in terms of training them, getting them up to speed, and all of these things contribute to essentially the occupancy issue. But we've been working on it for quite some time, as Mark mentioned. We really have, I think, a really good team who is engaged and really starting to get those units turned faster, so that we can get back to where we are. But it's going to take time.
Oh, thank you for that clarification. That gives some clarity. 2 things. So HUD will not give an exception when we're doing the scoring, because they should also realize that there was in
fact, that was one of the issues, and it is not unique to Sacramento. Housing authorities across the country are in a similar situation, and it probably would have been much more advantageous if HUD gave us a score that didn't count against us, and gave us an additional year.
Yes.
That would have made perfect sense, because at least then you know exactly where you're at, but you're not dinged by HUD, and you can still continue to do the work to get there. But I don't.
I'm just saying two things. Well, one, I'll be finished with my comments. One, I think our elected officials should be notified, and
they have been.
And to write a letter to ask for an exception to that, because that just makes like zero logical sense. because if you can't get in, you can't fix it, and then you're gonna ding the people that are doing the work. So anyway, I don't know if we can get involved in that, but I think, yeah, the congresspersons, the assembly persons, all of them should write a letter to HUD and say, you know, reverse that score, or at least be on the record that we're not in agreement with that, but we'll get it done. Number 2 recommendation possibly is, what about some of the nonprofits and so forth? And I know it's a matter of funding, but there's other groups that can come in that are looking for like Job Corps, Youth Build, others that may be able to come in. I don't know if you've looked into that, but that may be, if you know, if it's cost prohibitive, that's an excellent opportunity for them to do restoration, get some work experience, reduce some of the costs. That may be something to take a look at. There's quite a few building organizations, and even our for-profit organizations such as what is it, Home Build, or so through the North State Building Industry Association and some of the other ones. They come in and work on some projects. But anyway, there's a gamut of those out there. And I don't know, have you all looked at nonprofits to come in since contractors have some scarcity?
Yeah, that's more road procurement related.
Procurement issue. Jim?
Good evening, Jim Shields. We're pretty much bound by HUD regulations, and we have to procure all this stuff competitively. And so it's very difficult for us to go out and task a nonprofit to come in and do the work for us. We can do that on a training basis, work with that, but not when we're dealing with the type of dollars we're dealing with. So we have thresholds. We have $10,000 thresholds, we have $50,000 thresholds, and $200,000 thresholds, and we have to competitively bid at each level. So we have to go by those rules. So
Okay.
that's where we are. But
thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Commissioner Manfor.
The only thing I want to say is, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Chari for addressing the article and also with the whole vacancy thing, because I think sometimes the public have assumptions as to why things aren't happening, and when you're able to really elaborate as far as all the steps and compliance and the health regulations, I think it shows a level of transparency that's really important, especially during this meeting. Hopefully people are able to see the hard work that's going on in the back end, and I'm really optimistic as far as what we as the subcommittee that are doing to address this this ding that we have.
Commissioner Ross.
Yes, and so the other part, I'm sorry I missed that article in the Bee, but I think possibly, because of the one other recommendation to help us advocate for you all, when certain things come up in the media, maybe those articles can be sent to us so that we could be aware. And, you know, I know there may be restrictions of what you can say, but we can read it, and then we can also advocate, because there's you know, many that come and talk to us and say what's going on, and we can say, hey, this is what's happening. Is that possible? When media comes out, I mean, that's what we do on our social media. Maybe SHRA does that.
Yes, and I think in the past that we have sent that information out when it comes out, so yes.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
There's not.
Then we will move to the Executive Director's report.
Okay. So just also to answer your question in terms of the members of the task force, Commissioner Nunley is the chair. She didn't step back fast enough when they were And then we have Commissioner Manfor, Commissioner Jefferson, Commissioner Starks, and a member from the RAP, which is Gail Morgan. Did I miss anyone? I think that's it. Yeah, so that's the membership of.
Thank you.
He volunteered, maybe that was a meeting or you weren't here.
Maybe not.
Or you were looking down when
I heard about it, but I could have. some other place. Other location. That's happened one or two times here. I'll be absent again, but I'll be present from Savannah, Georgia. I'll be present from Savannah.
And the other thing too, I wanted to also just provide an update about the unfortunate situation that we had where a young child was shot, which was very distressing to the community and the staff and all of the residents there. We've been working very, very closely with the police regarding that particular situation, as well as working with the family. I've received some reports that she is doing better, so I was very, very thankful to hear that her condition had moved away from being critical. But to that end, we are also looking to try and get money for cameras and for additional lighting in that community. We received a grant, was that last year or the year before, where we were able to do Marina Vista?
Year before.
Year before, where we were able to do cameras throughout Marina Vista. We'll continue to apply for grants for Alder Grove. However, in collaboration with the city, they're working with us to see if they can locate some grant sources. They think it's very, very promising. In addition to Senator Ashby has already stepped up and is really also trying to assist with funding. And our goal then would be to add additional lighting in the area because there's so much tree canopy in that particular area, but it's dark. So our ability to add more cameras, or to add cameras, because we don't have a lot of cameras at Alder Grove. We just have some around the office area, I believe.
Yeah, just 4 around the office.
Yes, and it's a huge campus, but still, those are the types of security measures that when those are put in place, we do see a decrease in this type of activity. We are really, really working hard to see if we can get resources like that so that we don't have these type of situations happen. So just wanted to give an update on that. In addition to that, the other thing I have on my report is that Marisol Village actually has won another award. I don't know how many we've received so far, because it's just outstanding, but it's the American Planning Association is going to be having an award ceremony, and this development was chosen. That's going to be on October 23rd from 5:30 to 8. So the American Planning Association Sacramento Valley section chose Marisol to receive an Award of Excellence in Best Practices Award for Marisol. So that's really great. They felt the project went above and beyond by providing residents with services, parks, programming, access to a future light rail station, which also too, since we're talking about light rail station, that is moving forward. And the bids have come back, and we hope to have a groundbreaking in the early fall. So we're very excited about the light rail station. But yes, they were really excited and impressed about all of the work and what Marisol has done to really revitalize that area. So just another example of a lot of the great work that we're doing in the community. And those are all the things I have. Thank you. Commissioner Ross?
Yes, outstanding. So a question for you is that award ceremony 5 to 8, is that at Marisol Village, or is it someplace else? Is that one of those?
It is going to be at the West Sacramento Community Center at 1075 West Capitol Avenue.
So that it's kind of open, or is it a banquet, or is it something that commissioners can attend? Or
I'll check on that and let you know.
Okay, yeah, sometimes we see you on there, here on the big gala award, and I know it's a $50 ticket, so I'm thinking about it, We'll see, right? We'll see if I get that one. I'm looking for the free ones. But the other question. What's up?
I take it you're interested in attending.
Yeah, I try, when I can. The evening ones are better because I've got to make a living, but yeah, would love to try to do that.
Great, we love to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, and great, many awards coming, so outstanding. That's good. So I do have another question about cameras, and I'm on a Park and Rec Commission, and I've asked them to take a look at this. So I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's a good deterrent. I'm going to make it kind of funny, but it actually is really serious. The Walmart, Home Depot cameras, right? There's a tower up there, and it has it in multi-directions. And the nice deterrent is that when you walk by, it says, "We see you." And it's real tall. And I'm thinking that, even as an interim solution, maybe even as a pilot project, to be able to install one of those. It doesn't look great, but I think it will be a deterrent. And I'm going to tell you, when I have this I won't give you the name because they'll be marketing that particular product, but I have one at my door. And two Halloweens ago, people were stealing the candy. And I had to go chase somebody else and say, "Can I give you that candy back?" Well, this was all right. This was free. And then, he gave me the box of candy back. But when I had this other, I was a little bit taller than him, a little bit, yeah. Voice had some bass in it. And I said, "Hey," but anyway, but when I put this video camera up, and it's the one that talks to you and says, "Welcome to our home," or whatever it is. Then when they were getting the Halloween candy, this next time we had a little poster up there that says, "Take 3." And then it said, "Oh," it talked to us, "Look, we're only taking 1. We weren't sure." They were showing it on the camera and all that kind of stuff. So it was really effective. I had a lot of fun with it. I want, in seriousness, that would be a very cost-effective approach, I think, to explore. And put it in an ideal place. And it also has some lighting on it too. It might work. And it may be something that can show a demonstration to be able to say crime is reduced, or survey with the residents, they feel safer, there's additional lighting, and it's not really put in an infrastructure because it's just a portable unit like this water bottle, and you sit it there. And if the funding's not there anymore, then you can take it away and but see what happens. It's very effective deterrent.
So, were you done?
No, we do have a system like that at one of our properties. We have one here.
You just get to the microphone.
Oh, sorry. Got too comfortable in that chair. Yeah, so we do have a system like that, and it does work to a degree until people start getting used to the voice. We have this camera system like over our Marina Vista vehicle yard, and every day we get children going in there, and it triggers their alarm, and you can kind of see like their reactions aren't really fear-based. It's more of like an amusement or entertainment thing, but it was effective, and we do have monitoring on those cameras, and I know like one of the solutions that we're potentially looking at would have some monitoring tied in with those camera systems.
Yes, and you have to bid them out,
Yeah.
to go through the procurement process and do all of that. But there are cameras that have a top-down feature, but it's coming from a monitoring site where someone is monitoring and they're talking to you versus just a recording.
Right.
And so that's a part of, when we put it out to bid, is looking at, the features of those different types of camera systems.
Well, I hope you take a look at it. At least in a temporary status, it helps communicate to folks that, hey, we see it as serious, we're going to try to do something. Maybe it won't be as effective later on, but maybe it'd be good for 3 to 4 months, 6 months. Maybe something might happen. Thank you for both of those responses.
Okay. So my only update, thank you for the update on little Sophia. I had seen the GoFundMe that her principal and teachers had put together for her medical expenses. And, we haven't had a commission meeting since the middle of May. And there's been 9 incidences at Aldergrove or Marina Vista since the end of May until now. And, you know, it's concerning to me not only because I live not too far away, I hear the sirens, I turn on my scanner to see what's going on, or I read about it in the paper, but I'm also being contacted by residents there and reading their posts on social media, expressing their concern, their fear. Sometimes they say they don't feel safe. And so I'm glad that SHRA is looking at the different options that are available to, you know, to deter issues. Of those 9 incidences that I mentioned, all of them had some relation to firearms, whether there was evidence of a shooting or firearms were found, but 3 of those incidences where people were injured. We had a man walking outside early in the morning on June 25th who was shot in the leg. We had an incident in the middle of the day on June 23rd where 18-year-old Danny Partridge III was shot and killed at Marina Vista. And then on July 2nd, in the early morning hours, little Sophia was shot after she returned home with her dad after dropping mom off at work. So whatever we can do to, or SHRA can do to work with the community, provide resources, provide ways for people to just be educated, to be willing to share information of you know, what's happening behind closed doors, who may be there that shouldn't be there, who may be in possession of a firearm that shouldn't be, so that we can really protect those who are living there. So. Any updates from commissioners? Okay. Then I would just like to adjourn this meeting and just remember those 3 individuals. I don't have the name of one of them, but for the loss of life in memory of Danny Partridge III. He had just graduated high school and was planning to go to college. And for little Sophia as she recovers from her injuries. Meeting adjourned.